that, you can contact City of Muskegon, Saugatuck Township, and Ottawa County, and a lot of these other municipalities that we've done a lot of business in. We've invested millions of dollars in these areas, and they can all attest to it. And they can tell you a little bit about who we are as businessmen. So I thought it was important to kind of tell you guys how the story kind of came about and what's going on, why my name is showing up there a couple times, and that I'm still very, very interested. And I'm going to continue to try to open up a retail facility at this location here in Saugatuck Township. So I just wanted to kind of, give you the whole story, introduce myself to you guys. I can give this. Again, the main thing is I don't necessarily need a full ruling from you guys right now, but at least maybe a table, and we can talk and figure out what the issues are, and maybe what the Planning Commission has that are issues, or even the people, and I can work through them, and I've done it many times so far. So I just kind of wanted to let you know that. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know. And if I want you guys want information, follow me.
An extra copy of that, everyone.
Like I said.
Okay.
Karen,
Just make it.
is your informational center in Newman, how you said?
Yes,
is that
you will be.
Across the gas station, or I
So
thought that was closed?
That was Emerald City.
Okay.
So we're
that wasn't
800 feet. Yeah, we're 800 feet in a different building down the road.
Okay.
The Emerald City guys, they didn't get approved by the state of Michigan to be allowed to do that.
Have you opened there yet, or
We're in the process. We're close. We did get state license on it. We're training and hiring people right now that are working in our Muskegon store. We have currently employed. We have 19 people employed right now, and once we get that store open, we'll have probably closer to 35. So we're kind of training everybody there, getting all the, hanging up the last of the TV, getting all the electronics ready to go, and then we're going to move them over to that store, and then get that open hopefully by the end of July right now. And also, if you guys are interested to kind of see what we do, I can show you pictures of what it looks like, and then more importantly, what we've done is the City of Grand Haven, the City of Grand Rapids, the City of Muskegon Heights, a lot of other municipalities have come and personally visited our facility. Because a lot of people don't know what they are, what to expect. They just think it's like a small pot shop or anything. When they come and they see ours, it's more like a pharmacy. The way everything's set up, and I can leave pictures of that too. I think I have some here from some of the news articles that you can see. You can see how we set up our security. It's all over and above what the state required. We've done everything kind of that way so far. And I'll leave this here with you guys if you just kind of want to see an example. Or like I said, we're in the news. So, if you guys Google us, I bet you a news article will pop up, so we're excited about that.
You haven't shared any renderings or design ideas with us yet?
No. See, and it's one of those ones where I would need to get the okay from you with the parcel.
Right.
I didn't want to get my architect involved already and, whip up all these major plans about what we would want to do. But as of right now, what we're thinking is to keep it as much the same as possible. So I can actually repurpose and build onto that existing house right there.
That's my next question.
Right. So we can use that house to kind of keep the same look to Blue Star.
I don't know if it's that fabulous, really.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right. But I think a lot of it.
But the point is, you're not planning to significantly increase the commercial.
We're not attached to it.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Right.
I was talking about this with Lene yesterday, and another quick thing that came up, and I wanted to verify with you because I don't remember this being addressed at Planning Commission. How would you characterize overall the plans, for the landscape itself? It's a very wooded lot. Do you see much of that being changed?
I mean, not really, because the way that it works, and this is what I can work with you guys on too, where when we sit down and put in our special, we have to get special land use approval. So I can present a special land use approval to the Planning Commission, and they can say, no, let's work on this. I'm open to anything. I understand you don't want anybody to come in there and just wallop all those trees down and put up some big gaudy building, and I don't blame you. And it wouldn't fit in the area as well. But I'm 100% open, and my uncle is to sit down with you guys and say, what do you want? I mean, there's not going to be a big blinking sign, with an arrow or anything. You can't do that. The state of Michigan doesn't allow you to. They're relatively discreet buildings, so you don't usually get a lot of traffic because people see it on the side of the road. It's not like a gas station. People usually seek these facilities out for medicine, there's, online, you can search for these places, so that's how it's done. It's not like putting a big sign out front is not really gonna attract too many more people, so it doesn't necessarily make sense for me to have this thing hanging out on the side of the road with everything,
Well, and we have to approve signage too.
Right, exactly.
There's always that
So,
protection.
yeah, and more importantly, you guys tell me what you guys wanna do and make it work.
Well, I wanted to mention that having been at all those the hearings and the PC meetings that you've attended, and you have been very forthcoming with information and being in the office and getting to know how things operate. I have sympathy with my colleagues that expressed concern over rezoning and opening the door, creeping this and creeping that, and I think that should always be a concern. Rezoning is a major thing, but I also think sometimes that it's used maybe for other reasons, that people don't want a certain thing. I wanted to point out, because I think this is really critical to the whole idea, if the C3 that would be required is defined on all our maps, and, the definition of C3 is commercial interchange. Planning Commission was very deliberate in limiting the medical marijuana to areas around the north and south freeway interchanges. As you said, we didn't go the route of saying we're only going to allow 2 or 10 or 1, but by definition, I find this very critical. All of the townships, our 39 miles, whatever, 0.7% are C3. That's less than 1% are currently C3. Probably if it's changed, it might go to 1.1 or 9. I don't know for
I
sure.
don't think it would change because they moved that 2.2 acres.
There, yeah, you're right.
They
It
moved
might,
the 2.2 acres that you rezoned already.
Yeah.
So this would only probably be adding 1.1 acre, which I bet you won't even make that 2.7.
And I can't speak for as well, but I can speak for myself, and the reason I voted against the denial. To me, that is a commercial interchange property. There happens to be a house on there that's usually been rented. The neighbors, as you already pointed out, the adjacent neighbors are the gun shop, the Shell station, and the freeway interchange. Spectators, there's a barrier, there's a boundary that I think protects this creeping notion, and that's 61st Street. You have the street right there. So I just wanted to point that out, and you've hit other points, and I think you answered my 2 main questions. So.
If this property doesn't work out for you, are you going to investigate other properties in the area, or have you?
In Saugatuck Township?
Yes.
I've looked to the south, there really isn't anything I think we find of value down there. I've looked at all the C3 properties in Saugatuck Township, and for our money and for our time, and I think for where we see value, those parcels on the south side of town don't really make sense. And truthfully, I wouldn't want to come in and try to buy out one of the gas stations and say, hey, people do that in this business, which is crazy. I personally can't afford to buy a gas station now. But, what we can do is we can work with this parcel, and get it so it's viable for us.
And I know people have told you, and you know this, that on the other side of the Shell station, there is a C3 property, but it's what, 4 times, 5 times, or more than this property?
10, it's 12 times.
It's a huge parcel.
It's, it's
3.5 million.
Yeah, it's 3.5 million for 38 acres, and I did not need it.
No, and the one in question is quite small. And
Right, exactly.
well, I also wanted to just point out to my colleague and commend you and your team. And again, Lene and I went through this, so I understood it completely. This conditional rezoning, these 6 points, I think are vitally important.
Right, you get to see it. If I mess up or we mess up in any way, shape, or form, or do not do anything that we say we're going to do, then it goes back to C1, and you don't have to worry about any type of C3 uses being in.
I feel there's very strong protections
Right.
to the townships.
Right.
And I also wanted to just mention, because I know others have said this, and you said this, anyone who knows me knows what a big fan I am of the master plan. In so many ways. I've read it word for word. I've used it in debates. And I don't say this to be humorous, but there really is no mention in the master plan of medical or recreational marijuana. It's sort of like the Constitution. Things change every time. So.
Well, I think we have 3 or 4 options. We can vote to uphold the planning commission's decision. we can vote to, ignore their recommendation and approve the rezoning. We can send it back to planning commission for another review, or we can table it. So those are kind of the four options that we have.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we reject the recommendation of the planning commission in this case and accept the conditional rezoning application to convert this from C1 to C3 for the purposes, sole purposes of a medical provisioning business.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
I came in here intending to vote no on this, and because I'm against marijuana in any way, but I think I'm changed my mind. So, your, presentation is compelling. I don't like going against the planning commission, but I feel that it's actually a very good spot for this, and, so.
And generally, I really defer to the subject matter experts, which I consider our planning commission. I really appreciate all their work. But the thing that struck me, I think I read this stuff 3 times, was the precedent, because I happened to be at that meeting.
Right.
So I did not, we don't want to set precedent. But in your defense, at that meeting, that is somewhat what happened. And as you have said, that's a bigger change. So that stood out to me, and I really appreciate your presentation. And John, your work as well, your comments in serving on the planning commission. Because this stuff is, again, it's complicated.
Very, yeah. We're learning every day.
Yeah.
And John, can you tell me a little bit about the rezoning from C1 to industrial?
Oh, the one on the south side?
Well, was that for a visiting
Wasn't that
center?
the Culver?
Or was that for
Culver Street?
That was for a grow facility.
Yeah, so that's the legal name is Culver LLC. It's the one, the former owners of Hercules Restaurant.
But that was for a grow, not for visiting.
Totally grow, it's,
So
there's no public trade, there's no public, access. Growth facility, correct. But I would just also point out them, and I think you have approached this in the same kind of way in terms of, providing so much information and being there from the beginning and just working away at things. And when the commission says we need more detail, you get more detail. So some people hear that, but then they forget it.
Do you have any businesses open yet in Michigan?
Yes,
Now,
City of Muskegon. We opened it 2
Is
weeks
it,
ago.
I thought you said it was,
The store in Ottawa County, in Newton. Yeah, that will be open at the end of the month. We opened the Muskegon store, we had a soft opening on the 15th, and so I guess, not even 3 weeks in, so we just kind of opened up. It's been great so far, though. We've got a great response from the City of Muskegon, a lot of different people. It's great. I'll share with you the pictures so you can kind of see, like, the before and after.
I'll go visit it.
Yeah,
I'd like to
exactly.
see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got my haircut there, so
Oh, perfect.
I'll come see it.
Well, while your presentation, a lot of it makes sense, much of it is compelling. I have concerns, as did the planning commission, about, it was by design that they chose C3 to limit the number of licenses. And I'm worried about, that's how they chose to. They didn't say we're gonna only issue 3 licenses or 5. We're gonna keep it to C3. So to me, that's a big concern and just setting a precedent. So those are my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I agree with with Abby, and that, overturning a planning commission decision is a big deal. It's not just, a small thing. It kind of makes us look like we don't trust our planning commission, and it undermines their authority, and it's not a good idea. It's very rare that a township or city will overrule their planning commission. The worst I've seen happen is they send it back to the planning commission to look at it again. and be more clear on what their concerns are. Although I think Abby's correct, it's pretty clear what their concerns were. So I'm going to be inclined, I would rather see it either be denied, to accept their recommendation or to send it back to planning commission.
There is a motion on the table. And the comments valid, but I mean, we still have to, we had a first and a second, so we need to vote. We can have more comment too, but, no, but thank you, because that, you pointed out the 4 options, and you're absolutely right, so.
So, do you want to do roll call or voice vote?
Can you repeat the motion?
We don't want to accidentally vote the wrong.
Did the secretary write it down?
Right, to approve the denial or
Wow,
denial.
I didn't write it down. I believe I made a motion to not accept the recommendation of the planning commission and to accept the application for conditional rezoning based on 6 very specific spelled out conditions to convert this property from C1 to C3, which is commercial interchange, or words to that effect.
To rezone.
Yes, to accept the rezoning and not the recommendations of the planning commission.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Marcy? I'll come back to you. Helmrich?
Yes.
Osmond? No. Aldrich?
Yes.
Bigford? No. Marcy?
Oh, my.
Didn't you second it? But with discussion, you.
But that,
Yes, I'm going to go with yes.
Okay, motion to rezone carried.
Thank you. Should I speak at the end or something, or can I speak for a second?
There will be public comment.
All right, sorry.
And Helmrich, Harbor Authority and buoy replacement.
actually, that should have been placement, but whatever.
Oh,
I
placement.
missed that. These are related. I do want to speak to the fact that, the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority has been rather inactive of late. For 4 years, I served as the township rep, non-voting rep, went to all the meetings, made reports to this board, the board. And, they reached out to me because of my new position here, and, basically, they would like us to revisit joining the Harbor Authority. And my feeling on that was, well, in a month or two, when things settle down here, they should come do a presentation to us, and let's learn more about what they are up to, who's on it now, and then, to say, I expect to be pushing that potential, action to go along with our commitment to the tri-community cooperation, and the fact that, this is gonna link now, Stacy and I were invited 2 Saturdays ago to meet with the director of the Michigan Tech Research Institute, along with 2 of our county commissioners, Dean Kapinga and Jim Story, to discuss. There is a DNR grant out there that it's a matching grant, but this is pretty significant. That our county commission, Allegan County Commission, has voted to fund half of this matching grant. And it's to do the first very exhaustive study, and I forget how many years, but I think 15 to 20. And I have more information on this that I'll share. But the bottom line here is there's this grant opportunity to do a proper hydrological study of Kalamazoo Lake Harbor and the whole area, to get really accurate, up-to-date reports on the toxins in the water, the PCBs, and not just theorize about it. And it's all tied, though, to this Michigan Tech Institute in alignment with the Great Lakes Research Institute, to the impact on tourism and boating in the area, which I think we all agree is probably the #1 industry here and the lifeblood of all three communities.
Yes.
So it was a very eye-opening meeting, and it really, I mean, I think from my understanding of how things usually work, it was pretty historic that the county commission, would go out on this limb to endorse. I think I want to recheck the numbers, but I think they're willing to pay half of the match that the DNR would make. I've talked to some people at Douglas. I'm not quite clear what the portion would be that they'd expect the two cities and townships to come up with. I've heard 20,000, I've heard 10,000.
20. Oh, I thought it was 20.
Well, that's what I thought,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I heard a lower figure.
Oh,
But again, the point is, they spent this time with us, gave us a lot of material. Again, I said to them, I think probably in a month or two, I'd like them to come present to all of us. They've done this to the two cities, this team of researchers, and I just wanted to report on that it is tied to the Harbor Authority, because I think that whole harbor issue really needs to be on our strategic radar. And relative to that, but I'm very happy, I'm gonna put him on the spot now.
Can we pause right there before you
Oh, yeah.
segue into that? So will you invite them to come and present,
Yeah.
or, I mean,
I
is
think-
that something that we
Do
would
you
all?
think is August too soon, or should we wait?
I think there's a big Facebook thing happening right now, and it's getting.
About this?
Yeah, well, about the whole water situation. And people are really getting riled up, and I don't blame them, but it's a lot of misinformation. I think we really should move on this. I just feel it's
Let's
important.
go for August.
Okay.
Because as I don't know the deadline, but whenever it's DNR and a matching grant, there's usually a deadline involved.
More information is good.
I don't know the reason it doesn't happen, because we said, well, we need 2 more months, so, okay, I'll reach out to them about August. And then the other related issue, just anecdotally, you've all heard this, but 3 weeks ago, in the middle of budgeting and tax preparation and all the things that we were thrown at towards us in May, in Allegan County, the Marine Sheriff comes into the office and says, "Where are your buoys?" I knew what they are from being on the Harbor Authority, so it was like, "Oh, the township owns buoys, they should be in the water." Well, it took several weeks of digging around and talking to people, who used to do it, who can do it. We got a lot of support from Douglas. The timing was still good, because no one had put their buoys in the water yet, partly because of there was so much rain and then the high water as well. So I said I was going to throw this to our manager, because I'm happy to have him helping out with this now. But we did find our buoys. There's a plan to place them, and do you want to add to that?
Sure, if the board would like, I can give an update.
That'd be great.
So, as we all know, the township places no-wake buoys, and a couple weeks ago, Bill Lefevre, the recently retired Douglas city manager, had offered to coordinate with the township the placement of these buoys. There has been quite a bit of turnover in the city of Douglas as well as in the township. I spoke with Rich LaVombard, the new Douglas city manager, earlier today, and learned that the Douglas buoys have been placed by Brent Burkholz. However, he was not able to place the township's buoys. He was originally selected for the project because he has equipment that can get under the I-196 bridge, even with the elevated water levels. He's also the most cost-effective option right now with the elevated water levels. There's a lot of extra work that's being done in the area on the water, dock repairs and such, that have drastically increased the price of work on the river. But the most up-to-date situation report I have is I spoke with Brent Burkholz earlier today, and we learned that the reason they were not originally placed when the city of Douglas's buoys were placed was our buoys are not properly fitted with the necessary length of chain or weight of anchor on them. So if they would have been placed, or if they are to be placed in their current condition, they would more than likely float away and disappear, or at a minimum not be where they are required to be placed. So Brent is updating the weight and chains to be consistent with those of the cities of Saugatuck and Douglas, and he estimated that they should be able to be placed within the next week. I've asked him to keep me updated so I can keep the board as well as the public updated on the status of this, and I will be following up regularly. I've also communicated with the Sheriff's Marine Unit to learn that part of the issue is, even though a no-wake zone exists while the buoys are not there, it is very difficult, if not nearly impossible, to enforce when the buoys are not there. So staff will continue to field resident concerns and do our best to explain the situation as we move forward, but that's the most update situation for it.
Just
Thank you.
curious, is it because of the rising waters, does that make a difference
Yeah.
at all in it too,
That's
with the
everything.
weight? Okay, that's,
Because
sorry, I just wasn't
It's
sure
harder
on
to
that.
get under the bridge if your boat's
Yeah.
too tall,
Yeah.
and our anchors would not
I
get
would
bottom.
think that threw everything
So
out.
they all
The
float away.
township's buoys are also between 15 and 20 years old, so it's just making sure that the equipment we are using, it's making sure the township is doing things right, that they're going to be there when we go to get them at the end of the season. So yes, it will take a little bit longer, but we would rather get this done the right way.
And the sheriff, just, again, thank you, I'm so glad you're involved now, and the sheriff's department's been very supportive. They understand the reality and the situation. You know, I told them we're embarrassed if they're not done by July 4th, but there really hasn't been anything we can do about it. So if they're in next week, I think great. Great job, Brent, great job, Griffin. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time, Griffin. There were several residents that had emailed. Have you been able to explain this to them?
I have not been able to follow up with every resident who's reached out. A lot of the development in this situation has occurred today and later in today, but it's one of those situations that myself and the rest of the staff will be able to update residents as concerns come forward from here on out, since we now know the status of the situation.
Thank you.
And the buoy report. So now we're on to committee reports, planning commission.
Okay, the planning commission, as you know, met on June 3rd. It was the public hearing on the Aaron Smith rezoning application, which we have now shared was denied at that meeting. An approval was granted to change Spirit Space on Blue Star Highway back to residential from commercial as it is now, on the condition that the owner who's going to live in it now as a house remove the sign out front that advertises it as a public space and business. Special approval was also given to a company called JARS, J-A-R-S, and that's for holding a medical marijuana provisioning center at the Amble Inn, south of the highway. And we tabled to await a more full, complete application. I'm sorry, that's the one that was tabled for more details. That's the special approval application, and we voted to table it and to get more detailed information from them. That's regarding the Amble Inn property. Let's see, Culver LLC, as I mentioned earlier, is now the first fully approved and licensed medical growth facility in the township. And we approved that with 8 conditions. And I will say, the Planning Commission is very good at spelling out conditions and thinking of the totality of things. I mean, I really enjoy working with them, and I'm excited about welcoming a new member to the commission. And that was the main gist of last month. And we actually did not meet in July, because there really wasn't not an agenda. It's been busy the last 3 months, but no July meeting. It's July now.
July 22.
That's right, I'm sorry.
Memorial Day.
No, the June 3rd meeting was the May meeting, because the Memorial Day was delayed. There was no June meeting. There will be a July meeting in 3 weeks on this Monday. Right. Thank you.
Okay, road commission.
I have a meeting next week with Craig Atwood. He's gonna come this direction. And we have I'd say at least five residential issues on things that we need to talk about. And that is where we will also use Dave to help with, especially the issues up here. The safety here and the safety at Allegan and Blue Star. We do get more and more comments about that. So we will be meeting to talk about that, see where we go from there.
Brenda, can I, Chief Janik asked, I'm sure you know this too, we were looking at the washout,
Right.
and we're gonna, wait a little while until
Right.
things calm down. I just want everybody to know
So should I
that
mention
we're
that?
still,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're still interested in that. We're working on it, but we're gonna wait just a bit until things settle down.
Okay. And that's it?
Okay, in our urban report, I do not have one. I didn't receive
Yeah,
my
she usually
from,
writes one up, but maybe they didn't meet.
Due to that death in her.
That,
she
yeah.
was not able
Yeah,
to-
our deputy clerk Lori is the rep on the, inner.
okay, fire board,
June turned out to be a record month. We reached 99 calls total. Old record was 2016 with 95 calls. June showed only one fire call, a mutual aid call, Nebraska for a car fire. EMS counted for 60.6% of our calls. By area, the township is the most busy area with 168 calls so far this year. Douglas is the runner-up with 139. Response time to remain within the 5 to 6 minutes level for May based on 54 priority 1 and 2 calls. At our next township meeting on August 7th, our board will be discussing the reinstating of the International Fire Code. And I also want to thank the fire department for hosting the benefit charity car wash for the Betts family. It was a huge success. Everybody worked really hard, but it just felt great to see the community get together for this tragedy, and the support was really touching.
And you made a great Wonder Woman.
Thank you. That's just my outfit.
yeah, in August, the fire department will be bringing back to us an ordinance amendment to adopt the 2018.
It's appropriate, right?
Yeah. The 2018 International Fire Code. The rules for recreational marijuana came out today, and they adopted by reference the 2018 Fire Code as well. So the timing is good, and it will be to reinstate the cost recovery ordinance as it existed before it got tinkered with, and to look at a proposed marijuana ordinance that has been applied to the city of Kentwood, supported by the fire department. It's fire related, not how many you should have or where they should be, but fire related. So that will be in August. Parks Commission.
Well, it's interesting you commented about the river. There's a number of beavers along the river bluff, and there was a number of trees cut down. I wonder how many of them have floated away when the river rises, because you talked about the buoys floating away. At River Bluff, we're just waiting for the contractor to get his insurance, and then we'll be ready to start that construction. So I'll keep you updated when I find out the next steps. As far as the parks budget, I've met with John, and I think we're all set. John's agreed to come to our next park meeting and explain, and we wanted to talk about how, going forward, we could maybe budget for some smaller improvements. The shelter at River Bluff needs a new roof, and we'd like to eventually get that budgeted, and maybe next year do that. The sidewalk on Old Allegan Road in front of the church, I found out the house next to the church is a rental. A couple of years ago, we got permission from those folks to put that sidewalk in, and I want to reconfirm with them, so I've got to find out where those folks are and try and get a hold of them. But we did get agreement from the church that to go ahead with the plan, and once we have a final plan, we'll meet with the church again. Dana has contacted the county road commission because Old Allegan Road is a county road, and we want to make sure things are okay with them before we go ahead. We did our annual parks walk around. We identified a few things at the dog park. We're going to get, in fact, I think it's all already done. Glenn was going to fill some of the potholes in the parking lot. He's also going to put wood chips on some of the wet spots. Of course, now we're gone from a lot of water to no water. My lawn is drying up already, So the wet spots at the dog park have dried up, but we still want to get him to put, wood chips and sand, and we've got a plan for that, and he's, going ahead with that. So, that's about it for the parks. Any questions?
Did that more permanent sign ever go up the dog park, relative to that disease?
Parvo?
Yeah, the Parvo. We decided that there's other signs there telling people that their dogs should be inoculated, and not bring young dogs, because I think they have to be at least over 6 months old before they can get their shots for Parvo. And, so we decided that we should not put up another sign.
Okay.
So that's the approach we took. And we haven't heard any more about it.
As far as I know, that one incident that was many months ago, and
Right.
there hasn't been another one that,
No, and, that's the thing. You get sick, who'd you catch it from? Your grandkids? Somebody on the bus, or, who knows? So, where the dog actually got sick, we don't know. Okay, thank you.
Meeting next.
Okay, Kalamazoo Lake Water and Sewer Authority. Thanks for waiting so long.
I didn't know I'd have to do a report. June 10th, I attended my first meeting of the board, and in addition, I attended a couple of more meetings with Daryl to more completely familiarize myself with what assets we've got here and where we are. The meeting on June 10th went pretty long,
Yeah.
and it covered the routine budget issues, but in addition, it discussed 4 of the biggest issues that we face, which will be ongoing. The lead copper rule is one, and PFAS as well, and those are issues that we're going to face over and over again as we discover new ways to find contaminants in water. We're going to find, the state will tell us, you're going to deal with it this way. And those are issues that Daryl has to deal with. I, in addition, attended something put on by the AWWA, American Water Works, which was on PFAS, polymer removal. Anytime you hear poly, it's basically a man-made chemical chain, long to short, and I think I told you, we just discovered how to test for it maybe 20 years ago. And we have since found chemical tests that will tell us, gosh, we've got it here, and we've got it here, and we've got it parts per trillion or quadrillion, and it's bad. We're going to find that happens over and over and over again over the next years to come. And so 2 of these discussion issues for Cal Lake are lead copper, came from Flint, and PFAS, and then the other 2 issues, one was wellhead, which is basically another way of saying we need water, we need lots of water, and we need to replace the existing wells as they get old and plugged up. And then the last major issue, which Bill Lefevre brought up and has been brought up before, is one that seems huge to me, and that is that there are 4 entities here, Lake Town, Saugatuck Township, and Douglas, and 4 different opinions of what their agreement is with Cal Lake. So there is now a search. I talked to Daryl again. Does there need to be a meeting? Seems to me there needs to be a meeting of the minds and something put in writing. It affects other issues like this Dick Darby issue, and without discussing that and resolving that, there's going to be some more potential for lawsuits. You can't even go to step 2, which is how you're going to expand the capacity here, because we are very lucky. Cross your fingers. Right now we have 1 MGD capacity, and we don't have to treat it. You sink a well here, and it's going to meet the State Drinking Water Act with the addition of chlorine, and we're going to find someday that's not going to work. And in addition, I've heard capacity has been sold. Some of the capacity, 150,000 gallons a day, has been sold to Dick Darby through Lake Town, what I most recently heard, and that's 15% of the capacity here, in one hand, and that's nothing. There's really nothing. 10 houses at 10 gallons a minute, and you're using that entire flow of water. So, planning commission expansion, forget about it until we discuss how we can expand the water treatment. And so those are the ongoing issues. It was fun.
Good.
And educational, and,
Well, before you go, we're very glad you stepped up to that plate and representing us. Do you happen to know, is Bill LaFever staying on? Or?
well, I talked to Daryl about that today, and he doesn't know. He thinks he's still on, but we don't know.
Okay.
And
Is anyone else new in the last few months? I mean, obviously you're the newest, right? Okay. All right, just curious. And this is what you, when you're mentioning PFAS, and I'm also kind of, I don't know, Stacy might, I've just been curious, so much of the PFAS source has been fire departments and foam. Does that discussion ever come up? I mean, I should just ask Chief Janik about it. I don't know how much foam our fire department uses and if there should be a concern there.
there are contaminants, and lots of contaminants. When I said long chain and short chain,
Yeah. I
kind of lump them together in polymer. From a chemical engineering standpoint, that's not accurate, but polymers are man-made chemicals, and they are in foam, yes. They are in Gore-Tex. They are in every kind of plastic and every kind of chemical and every kind of boiler treatment that's being used everywhere. So everywhere in this environment, eliminating the foam might start, but it's a drop in the bucket. And those contaminants, as I said, it's going to be ongoing. PFAS removal is relatively easy, but potentially very expensive. Daryl sent me the link and said, okay, you can sign up for AWWA and you can be the expert. I was a member of AWWA, and I listened to the presentation on a pilot study in Alabama and found out that one of our former competitors has now patented something that I patented 15 years ago. So I was very expert on the system that they were describing, and we happen to have the biggest one in the United States over at Hemlock Semiconductor, put it in maybe 15 years ago. And so it was entertaining to see some people presenting and changing the names, and I don't know if General Electric wants to sue them, but it's a fairly common way, but it's expensive, and I told Daryl that. This is expensive. It's like going from, we have a BB gun right now to a thermonuclear device, and the operating costs would be extraordinarily high, and there are other ways to get rid of PFAS, and we don't have a problem anyway, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Open board report. Would anybody like to start?
Sure. I would. I just wanted to, we addressed this in our budget meeting, but I did want to address the explanation of our elected official compensation adjustments, just because there's been some chatter out there, and I want to make it very clear. We base the elected official compensations on MTA research. And so what we ended up doing is we cut the supervisor elected official salary from $17,604 to $12,500. Our supervisor was far overpaid, and research did not produce any explanation as to why, so across the state. Across the state, treasurer's pay for the elected official position, this is just the elected position, at the 50th percentile, $16,780, we were paying our treasurer $10,937. Their elected official pay will also be $12,500. The clerk across the state, the 50th percentile is $15,875. We were paying the clerk $10,428, and we decided on $12,500 for that. We decided to create a pay scale that there was equity, and so the salaries actually, so for the three elected positions, the salaries decreased $1,469. Overall, the budget of all salaries, compensation for the new fiscal year is $27,000 less than it was last year, and that's an 8% decrease. So when you're out there talking to your friends, there hasn't been an increase in salaries. The treasurer and clerk are nowhere near on par. The supervisor's only $100 less than the 50th percentile across the state. But the other two are still, for example, the treasurer is still $4,280, lower than the 50th percentile. The clerk is $3,375, lower than the 50th percentile. And everyone here agreed to that parity, that equality of salary. And we did speak to the candidates for the supervisor position in advance to let them know what we were considering across the board and in terms of the supervisor elected official salary. So, and if anybody wants copies of any of this research I did, please let me know. I'd be happy to share it with anyone, and just want to clarify the salary situation here. And I will add to that with the Wednesday closing, as we said earlier, no one is working less hours. That's not happening. So there is not higher pay for less hours. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out or add to that, so you don't have to read through the whole budget unless you want to. In part of this movement for equity and equal pay for positions, we did adjust the administrative salaries so that the clerk and the treasurer, and this affects me, but they're now the same. There was a historical difference.
Right.
I don't know if it was based on the individual people or what, but they're eto too. And
he's talking about the administration
right.
portion, not
the part we get paid for if we work in the office,
right.
in addition to our board duty. And that only affects the treasurer and the clerk, but those are now the same. And again, the overall impact, the total went down.
No, I don't have anything. I'm thank you for doing that research, and I know that we can't respond to every negative comment that's ever made, but this one was, pretty significant. We felt like we wanted to really clear up what the thinking was behind it, and it was actually came as a, a cost savings, not,
Right.
Right. You okay?
I'm good.
I'm good. So,
I have something.
you have something? Okay, one.
Now, I'll make this quick, but I think it's kind of important, and I'm kind of trying to do this every month. Things go in waves. We get calls, we get emails about issues and things. And I just want to point out, too, that I'm just throwing out there now that we have a manager on board and a great new zoning administrator, these are two items that I'd like to see us do some study, maybe have a committee, and end up addressing whether it gets to the ordinance level or not. I just want to put this on our radar. One is to really look at the whole short-term rental situation. And I know our hands are tied by state laws on this, but there are many aggrieved residents that live next door to homes, for example, that, have 12 Airbnb guests almost full-time for 3 months. So that's number one. And the second one, we're getting more and more complaints about individual property maintenance problems, like lawns that aren't mowed. Again, I don't think we have that kind of ordinance, but I think we should look at it. And then I've been talking to Griffin, and, even if we did do that, how do you enforce something like that? But maybe it's even just a phone call or a letter. But there are some standout properties that are kind of being ignored, and people come to us. So I'd like to have a stronger answer for them. And lastly, reminder to everyone here and this great board, tomorrow from 12:30-ish to 5, this board and our new manager will be working the Waterfront Festival for the Rotary Club 4th of July celebration. We will be the purveyors of the food, and it's being provided by that new Mount Baldy smokehouse in town that's getting a lot of rave reviews. So I think we're going to be busy, but we're, again, we're doing it because the township never got involved much in these kind of events. We cannot, by law, make a donation to anything, but we can volunteer time. And we'll be branded with Saugatuck Township t-shirts and a banner at the table. So thank you all, and I hope you'll come see us.
Okay, now it's time for public comment.
I just wanted to, thank the board for, voting in our favor and maybe point out a couple things. I'm not a good speaker, it's my nephew there, but, in Muskegon, we took a 80-year-old, kind of like a blighted building that had never been, remodeled or whatever. And, we did a driveway approaches, sidewalks, city sewer, city water, over 180, plants and bushes. And I planted, quite a few of them, 14 trees. And so we took this whole building and, made it really beautiful. And you're gonna see that same thing from us in this community. Something else that's kind of, unusual, and I don't know if it matters, but, everybody in this business, we've been all over the place, mainly West Michigan, but, they're all owned by big money and people from out of town. And so, because I consider myself local, 55 minutes from my house to here, you'll see a difference in the way we operate, the way we run our business, and I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Thank you.
Sorry, just state your name.
Yeah, Greg Mack. That's just a picture of the inside. There was some M-Life articles in that, but, like I said, it was an old trucking company.
I'll have to when you're just.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Rob, June, Ridgeway Center, Douglas. I just want to thank the board for what they've done as far as overriding the planning commission. I don't look at it as being an override. I think that Aaron did a very good job in the board allowing you guys allowing him actually to speak. He didn't have that full availability or ability to do that in front of the planning commission. And I think either way, if it would have gone back to the planning commission, it still would have come back as a yes. And I think he does have to go back actually to the planning commission to get the special use anyway. So these gentlemen are doing a great job. Been very impressed with them. I also look at the property as being, could have always been a C3 property. Yes, it's a C1. When I approached the township going back years ago, and I think I sent you a letter, each of you a letter on that in 2014, it was pretty much understood that it could have easily been a C3 because it is surrounded by C1. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? Elliot?
Microphone working, Jeff?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you choose to use it.
There we go. I want to make sure the microphone picks up. Elliot Stern, 2579 62nd Street in the township. I think I can speak with some knowledge about the PFAS issue in the fire department. You should know that in the 5 years I've been on the fire department here in Saugatuck, as far as I know, check with Chief Janik, we've used it twice. We rarely use it. It's frankly a pain in the butt to even get going off the pumper truck. And there's very specialized circumstances that require the use of that. 99.9% of the time, water will do the trick, or even a fire extinguisher, depending on the fire itself. But we just don't need it unless it's a chemical fire, something like that. Don't need it. It's called surround and drown. That's the byword we use. Just get it wet, put it out. It rarely uses, it's called CAS, compressed air foam system. We just don't need it for the most part. So I don't want you to have the impression that